Hello, friends. My name is Katja Haj, and I am the founder and publisher at LSR Press. And I want to welcome you to an interview with Gayle Bird about her newly released book, Dancing with Crows. The interview is led by our editor, Allie Rigby. Allie is a San Francisco Bay Area poet, editor, and educator. She is currently teaching creative writing to university students in Romania on a year-long Fulbright grant. Thank you for being here.
Of course. All right. Well, welcome everybody to this special interview between Gayle Baird, author of Dancing with Crows, and thank you, Katya of LSR Press, for having both of us here and ready to share this story with you. A little bit about the book for those joining us today. Dancing with Crows is a tale of love, loss, and redemption. It stars Laila, who is navigating her way through college, and the roller coaster relationship she has with Adam. She finds that there are demons she must face on this journey, and following her heart, she travels to Cape Cod, where she finds more than she bargained for. So Gayle joining us today. Gayle is a writer and artist based in Edinburgh, Scotland. She received her BA in drama at Exeter University and an MFA in film directing at Edinburgh College of Art. She has worked in theater, film, and illustration. Gayle studied shamanism with shamans from Brazil, France, and the UK, and spent time healing with the Shipibo-Conibo shamans of Peru. She is passionate about the transformative power of storytelling. Dancing with Crows is her first novel. Gayle, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So for, I think so many questions for this manuscript, which I've had the honor of reading a few times now. And I would love to know from you, Gayle, where this story emerged and how it emerged for you.
Well, I went through a difficult relationship and a challenging time in my life that left me creatively paralyzed. And anybody who's watching this who's creative knows how painful it is to be creatively blocked. Well, I felt like the only way to get through this was to write about it. But I didn't write about it right away. I carried the story with me for years with a sense that I just had to get it out of me. Then I went to stay with a Shipibo-Conibo shaman in Peru, and I dieted with ayahuasca, a sacred psychedelic plant. And it was during my time there that the story became clear to me. And when I got home, I started writing.
That's amazing. And I know for folks who get to hold a copy of your book, because that journey you just mentioned, that healing journey, has transformed into art as well. And so I hope maybe if there's time or at the end of this, we can include some of those art pieces you have, Gayle, because they're incredible. So how did the characters emerge and how did you build Adam and Laila?
Well, I try to write what I know. Both characters are flawed but full of beauty, and I wanted to show their strengths as well as their weaknesses. Adam's very much seen through Layla's eyes, and I wanted to show the depth of her confusion and her grief as Adam shifts from his loving, charming self to his hurtful, hateful self and back again. Layla's identity completely fragments before she can put herself back together as a whole being. And I wanted to show what that was like for her, and that even in the depths of her despair, she had the strength to make it through.
Yeah, well, I think you absolutely do that. And for folks joining this and who have read the novel or plan to, there's some animal companions that I feel like are really special on Layla's journey. Yeah, I mean, that must have been intentional on your part. I feel like, does Layla have a special relationship with animals? I mean, it feels pretty significant. She has a lot of different, almost magical companions who seem to guide her. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, Layla finds them through her healing journey. And I don't think she did have a particularly strong connection with animals before that, but the timing that they came into her life was transformative for her. And yeah, she found her animal friends everywhere.
I know. There's yeah, with such surprises too for the readers. Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you, Gayle. And knowing that this story is personal, it's fictionalized, there is a lot of vulnerability, even as a fictional story through Layla's experiences. I'm wondering how it felt to write some of Layla's harder, most, tender moments. And if you as a writer have any boundaries on what you decide to write and share.
Well, I tend to be drawn to writers who seem to tell it all, like Henry Miller, Charles Bukowski, and Maya Angelou, to name a few. So I try to write honestly about the things that are difficult to say out loud. The writer Anne Nin said that the role of a writer is not to say what we can all say, but what we are unable to say. That said, I did write a chapter that I didn't end up publishing because I wasn't comfortable sharing it. So my advice to any writers out there navigating boundaries is to trust and honor your intuition about what you feel safe to share.
Well, no, that's golden, right? And I'm grateful to have been in conversation with you on that. And I can say at LSR Press, the one of many benefits of small presses is that definitely I feel it among this team, but it's really important what the writer feels is part of their own truth and their own journey in writing it. And so I'm curious too for folks watching, when there are those dynamics between the writer and the editor and the publisher, being true as Gayle, you just said, of knowing what is going to be meaningful and healing or healing adjacent for the writer feels really important, especially when stories have elements of truth and rawness in them. And so I think that's really special. And your honest storytelling is really, I think, one of the highlights of this book. There is no holding back for Layla. We see her get a little dragged through the mud by life and come out the other side and dust off her knees, and there she is. So will you read us an excerpt from the beginning, perhaps?
Sure. I met Adam underground, and underground we stayed. We ran from our shadows in the cracks of the masquerade that played out our days. I was starry-eyed. He was the night that gave stars a home. a night without roads and signposts or places we could all ever call discovered or know. We were crammed into the basement of Scotland's National Film School, waiting for the studio door to swing open and unleash our untamable life dreams. Our lecturers were late. The rest of us were wading in a sea of adrenaline that we needed to inject into something. We weaved amongst each other, broadcasting our charm with smiles too big for our faces. Adam didn't. Adam lounged nonchalantly against the door, looking thoroughly bored. I was unsure if it was him that captivated me or my fear of him. He was American, charming, and cucumber cool, but by the end of week 1, he'd effortlessly unmasked the tutor's professional veneers and rendered them jabbering idiots. Sometimes it seemed almost cruel. When he didn't serve them back the opinions they doled out to us as facts, he laughed in all of their facades. I resented the arrogance with which he burst their facade of expertise and blew it up in all our faces. At the same time, I longed for him with a twinge of incurable lust. We weaved around each other at the odd house party. Our few words became loaded. He seemed to reach through my skin and see the part of me that's most hidden, as if a separate universe existed for us that no one else would ever visit. His glare beckoned me into his mystery at the same time I heard the warning, "Beware, you fucking fool, I might bite."
So that warning, that is, speaking of intuition, Laila knows. has a hunch from the beginning. And but that relationship is ultimately really important for Laila, right? On that self-awareness and kind of multiple epiphanies she has throughout this journey. And it's I felt for Laila, feel for Laila. She's just so open, I think, to art and so passionate about what she does, and just trying to find the right people, I think, to hold those stories with. It would be amazing if we could take a peek at your art and see these incredible drawings and sketches you have. So if now's a good time, we'd love to take a peek. Gayle, can you walk us through what we're looking at here? You're a multimedia artist and writer. So as we have these images, these drawings, what was the process like, and where did these images come from?
Well, this image you see now was actually an exercise I was given by a therapist to draw how I was feeling. It's quite a big picture in real life. And it took me a long time to do, but it was very cathartic. This one was inspired by a shamanic journey that I did, where I ended up in an underwater library. And I really wanted to put that down on paper. So this is the library.
What I love about this is that there are spirals and just so many books. I feel like, for me, knowing a bit about Laila and the content of this book, there is an intensity here, but also just almost a portal to this world where those wounds can be addressed through leaning into the arts and the stories. And there's something about this underwater library that it feels inviting, even though there is this element for me of, it is a little scary, right? To imagine breathing underwater, but I feel like that's the transformation that we witness with Laila. It's incredible too. And Gayle, are these charcoal or graphite? What is your medium?
And they're just pen and ink.
Pen and ink. Wow. Is this one also quite large?
Yeah. I think they're A2.
Wow. So much detail. And what if Dancing with Crows is right there in that library? And how did this one feel to draw?
It was another one that was very cathartic. I find it quite meditative drawing, especially something like this that's where there's lots of tiny, tiny little details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, almost like it goes on forever, this library. I mean, you can see why somebody would want to swim and read in here all day. It's magical. Thank you so much for showing us those drawings, Gayle. And this is a really special book because you have essentially some of Gayle's art by nature of the book cover, as well as the story as well for Laila. And for folks joining, there is a lot of mental health journeys, multiple actually, throughout this novel among many characters. As readers, we get most familiar with Laila's, and I think it's really important for as many stories engaging with mental health to be out there, because there's so many ways to experience it. And I know with Laila, I don't want to diagnose her or misdiagnose her, but it's clear that she is hurting and healing a little bit every day. And can you maybe just speak briefly to how important it is in this way to have these stories? And to be more specific, Laila experiences depression and among many other things in college. And I feel like in college, that's not always a story we hear about, of, the young women who are also now navigating being a young adult and feeling just the weight of the world and of relationships and big decisions in life. And what did it feel like to write that story? And did you feel like there was a need for that? Or I know you've also mentioned that this larger project was also part of your own healing journey.
Yeah. Mental health is really dear to my heart, because it's been a big part of my life. And I think it can feel very isolating, to suffer with depression and other mental health issues. And I think sharing our stories is so important. Not feeling alone in it is so important. And I know in the depths of depression, you can feel like you'll never get through. And I think it's crucial that we share stories where someone does get through. And the support of groups who share mental health issues is really important. And I think sharing through art can feel like a group. It can feel like very intimate to share those things through art.
Well, it's so intimate. And yeah, I agree with you. I feel like these stories, they each ought and can be told, but also maybe with the right audience and the right people to hold them. And um, I love this idea of just counter narratives, right? And so what does it look like to be a young woman in college who is struggling with depression and not just finding a way into like a clear path where it all makes sense. I feel like for Laila too, and so many young women I talk to, like 20, the 20s can be rough. It's hard being, right? When there's so much to learn. And I don't know a single person who doesn't either struggle with mental health, of course, as humans, and or know someone or support someone who does. And so I feel like these stories are so important. And as you know, the stigma is real. And I feel like such a way to kind of shrink it down is to just talk openly about our individual stories. And I know you've mentioned that Laila, right, she is a fictionalized character, but that you're pretty open about how you've woven in parts from your life into her story. So yeah, it must have been a vulnerable process writing about her.
Mm.
Yeah, but thank you for doing it, because I know that people are reading this book and feeling seen, and that's really special and really important. Well, I hope folks joining us know that this book is available from LSR Press, and Dancing with Crows is it's a, let me see how I want to wrap this up in a way. Katya, I'm not going to be putting links in the chat, but I'll
Yeah,
put,
we'll put the links with the video itself, so it will be
okay.
under it as a description.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'll put in that little plug. Gayle, thank you so, so much. And for folks looking at this video, wherever you are around the world, you can see in the information how to get your copy of Dancing with Crows, or maybe gift it to someone you love, someone you want to support. And maybe there's a young woman in college in your life who could use this story about love, loss, and redemption. And it's a wonderful book. I had just the honor of getting to know Gayle writing on this. Gayle, thank you for sharing your story and just for being so honest and open with this process and getting a book published and now being shared with the world. It's huge. And I'm just been so grateful to see it through with you.
Thanks, Allie.
Yeah. Well, take care, and thank you all for watching the video. And please check out the book. You can visit LSR Press and go ahead and see all the fabulous books from this small press based in Redlands, California.